All right, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of good conversation ahead of us. Sorry to interrupt your table conversations. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Mel Pipkin, and I'm the Events and Operations Coordinator at Faith Co-op. So I work alongside Jonathan and Ralston over there. And I have the joy today of being on the stage with some wonderful leaders in our city to talk about what it means to trust God when we're not working. And when we're not working, that can mean a number of things. It can be an intentional not working, like what we're going to be talking about today, of choosing to rest. Maybe that's an hour lunch break. Maybe that's a weekend or a vacation. Not working can also look unintentional, right? It can be between jobs, or maybe something goes wrong with the business and you have to step away. But for the sake of today's conversation, we're going to be really focusing on what it looks like to trust God when we choose to rest. This is the third event of our Trusting God in the Workplace series. We've had 3 and we'll have 3 more next year in 2026. But it's really focused on what does it practically look like to put our trust in God in everyday work situations. Whether we're rolling out a strategic planning session, or we're having to choose whether to move forward on a big decision, or we're choosing to step away from our work and we're resting. In all of those situations, we're putting our trust in someone or something. And these lunches are really meant for us to gather together as people in Chattanooga to talk about what does it look like to practically put our trust in God in these very specific workday situations. So today we're going to be talking about rest, and I'm particularly excited to be the one who gets to moderate this. The relationship between work and rest has been a journey for me, and it's something that I've really come to love and enjoy wrestling with. How do you rest, and what does it look like, and how do I really trust when I'm stepping away from it? So I'm really, really excited to be on stage here with these leaders. If you're new to Faith Co-op, if you don't know much about us, we do these kinds of events and programs all throughout the year. And really our goal is to help awaken Christians here in Chattanooga to better understand how their faith informs their work. We spend a lot of our waking hours at work, whether that's paid or unpaid, and we believe that God cares a lot about that, and He has a lot to say about that. So we host these lunch and learns, which are every other month. We also have 2 9-month fellowships. One's called the Chattanooga Fellows. It's for recent college grads. It starts in September, runs through May. Ralston over here, raise your hand, Ralston. He's the director of the Fellows. If you have someone who's ever interested, recent college grad, and really learning what it looks like to commit to community, to dive deeper into your faith, to learn about civic responsibility, he's your guy. And then we have another 9-month fellowship called the Main and Market Fellows. We have some alum of that program in the room. We have some current cohort participants in here. And there's more information on that welcome table if you're curious. It starts in September, it ends in May, and it's really diving into what does it practically look like for me that my faith informs what I'm doing. You do a deep dive of the whole gospel narrative of work. You meet on Monday nights for 2 hours, and applications are actually open for that for the next cohort that starts in September. So if you're curious, talk to me or Jonathan or Ralston, and there's flyers over there. I encourage you, if that's all at all interesting to you, to pick one up and pray through whether that's something you want to be a part of. We have a lot of other things going on. We have a Faith and Work 101 course. It's 6 weeks long, and that's for businesses, teams at different organizations, or small groups, even Sunday schools go through that. We kind of really talk about the design of work for 6 weeks. We do gatherings for women, and that's something I'm really excited about. I'm trying to kick it off the ground here in January. Lots of things going on, so if you are new to Faith Co-op and you want to learn more, there's a QR code on that welcome table. It's the best way to stay up to date with what we're up to. We'll send you a monthly newsletter that has everything we're doing. Or if you hate emails, you can follow us on social, and we post everything happening on social media too. Okay, enough about me and Faith Co-op. I'd love to welcome our speakers up here to join me on the stage, and we'll go ahead and get going. So if you will give a warm introduction to Chris, to Lauren and to Andrew. Well, welcome up, guys. It's good to see you. Let's start off with just doing a good old introduction. Who you are, where do you work, what are you up to in Chattanooga? Whoever wants to go first.
That's me. Hi, I'm Lauren Hall. I'm the president and CEO of First Things First. We're super excited to host this event today. We host a few of these a year, which we love to do. And yeah, First Things First, our vision is for every family to have healthy relationships to pass down from generation to generation. So we do that through providing relationship education, one-on-one coaching, case management, and access to mental health services at no cost to our families and our participants. Was that everything? Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Oh, can I say one more thing? Sorry, Andrew, this isn't how it's going to be the whole time. I'm also married, and I have 2 kids. Yeah.
Clickers, awesome. So I'm Andrew Kean, and glad to be here. Thanks, Mel, Jonathan, others for hosting. I work for a group in town called Sovereigns Capital. We're a faith-aligned private equity investment firm. I've been in Chattanooga almost 20 years. My wife is from here. I grew up in Virginia. We met in college and planted our flag here in 2007. We have 3 boys, and my wife is a math teacher just down the road here at Battle Academy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I forgot what time it was. If you see anything in my teeth, please excuse it. I was trying to finish the rest of my meal. It was very delicious. So thank you, Jonathan and Mel, and all of you all, Ralston, for your warm welcomes. My name is Chris Sands. I serve as the Executive Director of Community Safety for Mayor Kelly. And some of my team is here. I want to recognize them. And one of our great partners, Ms. Tamika, is here. So Nate, Shay, Ms. Deborah, Tamika's, thank you all for being here with me. So those are my people. And I try to get them in different spaces and places like this because they do a lot. And I want to make sure people know that. And they do some phenomenal work in our city to empower the people here of our community. So we also have this thing called CURV. CURV stands for Chattanooga United to Reduce Violence. And our goal has been to bring nonprofits, philanthropic community, different people from the community together to see how we can combat crime collectively in order to make a greater impact right here in our city. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and thank you so much, Mel.
Yeah, thank you guys. Well, these are our rest experts. I'm just kidding. We are up here to talk about the joys of rest and also the challenges of rest and how we're all on a journey of figuring out how to do that better and really how to cultivate a deeper trust in the Lord. So I feel like we should just start it off with why rest is so hard. There's the obvious cultural pressures to do more, to use up every moment of the day, to be as efficient as possible. But there's also some inner challenges and hurdles that we face. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges of choosing rest and what really keeps you from being able to rest well?
Guess I'll go first. So we had a chance as panelists to get together, I guess, a couple weeks ago, and that was we kind of talked through this. And one of the things that I was just reflecting on in that conversation and since is that I think a challenge for me personally for rest is there's some practical challenges that schedule demands, life, family, stuff happens at work, stuff happens at home. I personally have some pretty significant internal struggles to resting. I asked my wife this morning, Cindy, who is, if you know her, she's a truth teller, and I love it. Sometimes it's hard to be married to a truth teller, but I will take it, and I do love it. I said, what has been my relationship with work and rest? And her phrase, I wrote it down, was anxious control. So I'm not a great rester. I'm really good at anxiety, and I'm really good at wanting control, although I'm realizing more and more that I lack it. And I think it's in that realization and coming to grips with that I've begun to really be able to rest internally. Not perfectly for sure, but that's helped me a lot.
Oh, sure you don't want to go? Okay. I want to echo that, and also my husband is a truth teller, which I'm grateful for, but I did not realize until I started preparing for this talk how much of a performer I can be, and it's really hard to turn that off. On top of that, when I am resting, I start thinking, and I have to sit with some of those insecurities and things that I struggle with, and those feelings that I try to push aside, the anxiety, the need for control. When I'm quiet, I hear them. But if I keep going, I don't hear them. So I almost have to plan my rest at a time that I know I can sit and have like an internal reflection, right? Or prayer time with God to process feelings that I've been putting off for who knows how long. But that's why I avoid it sometimes, and why it's just hard to make myself do it. If I'm honest, just being honest.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
I will say this for me, I grew up in a grind culture that is work. You have to hustle to do this, you have to hustle to do that. And in that process, it's hard to turn off something that you have been doing for years when you've seen your family work hard, you've seen those in your community work hard. And I'm not one of the ladies in the room, but I know you all have these open tabs in your mind. Yeah. All the things you have to get done. I have open tabs in my mind as well, because I learned it from my mama, because she, of course,
Right.
work culture. So with that being said, I had to learn to start kind of deleting some of those open tabs. And Miss Deborah's here, she could tell you, I'm a workaholic. So I send her emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, hey, in the morning, please remind me to do X, Y, Z. She's like, Chris, when you go to sleep? And why are you responding to me right now, Miss Deborah? You're supposed to be asleep just like I'm asleep. So I'm around people who are also workaholics. So I'm like, wait a minute, we have to change the trajectory of what we're doing so that we can be healthy in what it is that we're doing. Right. So in the process of that, I've been learning internally how to set boundaries with all of the work. Work for work, the extra work at home, and even the other responsibilities, to put boundaries around those things. And I'm sure we'll talk about that more in just a moment. But I'm learning to set boundaries in order to sit with my thoughts and to actually be calm and patient so that I can pace myself and not burn out so fast from the work.
So could you guys talk about maybe a season or a time when rest was not part of your either daily, weekly, monthly rhythms, and a little bit about how that affected your work?
I guess that's me. Yeah, so gosh, there's so many seasons that this has happened, and since several of my coworkers are in the back pretending not to listen, but one is right here, and he knows too much. So I'll be honest, because I have to be. But when I am not resting, my team will tell me, because I tend to like over-explain and over-control things. I get snippy, I get irritable, I know those. And at home, it's the same. My kids, I don't have patience with them. I don't have patience with my husband. And specifically at work, if I don't rest, I tend to rush us into making decisions and doing things without prayerfully considering and thinking about, is this the right decision? Instead, I'm like, I'm tired and we gotta get this finished, so let's just do it. And sometimes I don't make the best decisions, right? And I force the staff to just hurry things along instead of letting the process happen in a way that builds buy-in and that ultimately brings the best decision for the organization at large. But that's kind of like a season. It hasn't just been, here's one season. I mean, it's like cyclical. And then I catch myself in it, and then I say, whoop, I need to take a break, or like reevaluate. But it's kind of just ongoing, and I'm still learning, so.
Thanks, man, that's good. I do think seasonality is a really big part of this. Now I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking about, kind of acute times in my life where this has really been a challenge. My 30s, so I'm 46 now. My 30s, there was a kind of a boiling water effect in my life. Young kids, kind of marriage, work, career demands, desires, things that we wanted to do that, there's just kind of a lot that presses in on people, I think, in that season of life. And I really was buying into that myth of control too, I think, particularly around career, and wanted to advance. And that really stole rest from me. I can remember my wife and I went on, before our first child was born, we did this thing called a baby moon. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but we went over, got a little cabin in the Highlands. It was great. And we were supposed to be there for, a good 48 hours, but like by hour 24, my mind was already back here. And Cindy called me on it. She's just like, look, you are not present. You are, and it was a tough, I did not want that to be true of myself on our baby moon, but unfortunately it was. And so I think that's one kind of anecdotal example of that season of life. But to your point, that doesn't go away. I think it changes and adapts and evolves, and you gotta be willing to continue to wrestle with it.
Yeah, that's good. For me, I would say in 2016, 9 years ago, this was crazy. It was hard for me to rest, and here's the reason why. My sister had passed away 9 years ago, and I became a guardian of 4 kids, and I went from no kids to 4 overnight, literally. Wow. I'm so serious. And trying to figure out how to transition. At that time, I was a youth pastor in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So trying to keep a ministry going there, because they moved service time to 6 p.m. so I could be here to raise the kids throughout the day. And then in the same time, I was about to create a school. That's how I actually met Jonathan. We started creating then the Kean School. What have you, Megan, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so in the process of all this, I'm creating the school. I'm now a father of 4 kids, legal guardian. I'm still trying to make sure that a whole youth ministry is running and functioning in a whole nother city, a whole nother state, while trying to take care of my mom in the process. So all I knew was work. All I knew was work. And in the process of the work, I started neglecting self. And my thought process was foggy. I couldn't function. I'm missing deadlines. I'm missing all of the things. I'm like, something has to give. So I know specifically for me, 2016 was a pivotal year of not resting, because I felt like I had to do so much and not put in systems, because I didn't know I needed those systems at the time to be effective. So that was a turning point for me on why I knew I needed rest.
So how did you learn to kind of set these limits or boundaries for yourself? And maybe talk a little bit about what actually that embodied rest looks like. Like what are some rhythms or practices that you have, maybe daily, weekly, monthly, whatever that looks like for you, but how did you learn to set those, and then what does it actually look like?
That's a good question. So I'm learning this. I learned this in 2016. There's a scripture, Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29, and I'm paraphrasing. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. And I forgot the rest of it, so I was trying to paraphrase. So, so I've been trying to make it practical, but y'all get it. Read it when you go home, all right? This is a study lesson. So from that, Jesus invites us to come to him if we're weary and have a whole bunch of things going on. And I've been trying to make that a daily practice. How can I give him my life and trust him when I'm so accustomed to trusting myself? Y'all all right? Don't leave me up here by myself. Thank you, Andrew. Amen. I appreciate you. And I'm not trying to preach. I'm just saying. Think about it for just a moment. We say we trust him with our life, and until it's time to trust him with our life. and everything that we have going on. So I've been learning to set that aside, that when things are not going right, when I'm overwhelmed, come to him. He invites us to come. And I'm learning to take that invitation and sit at his feet and say, hey, I need some wisdom. I need some strategy. I'm dealing with a lot, and you know it. And I'm trying not to handle it my old ways. I'm trying to use some wisdom to handle some things because, ego and things get to flaring up, and you have deadlines. Like, wait a minute. I'm learning how to rest in him from that particular scripture.
Man, that's good. Thank you. So kind of talking about how to actually set some intentional practices around rest. I'm sure we all have kind of our hacks, and I'd love to hear, Chris, kind of what systems you put into place. But for me, it's sort of a daily, kind of weekly, and then a 30, 60, 90 day look for myself. I love a quiet morning before others get up. I love some time to journal, some time to reflect, some time, there's a question that God asks in Genesis 3, Adam and Eve. If you're familiar with that in the book of the Bible of Genesis, if you're not, I'd refer it to you, where Adam and Eve have just, eaten the fruit of the tree, and they go and hide. And God asks a question. He's walking in the garden, and he says, "Where are you?" Well, God knew exactly where they were. I think as much as anything, it was kind of this invitation of grace to sort of them to think about where Adam and Eve was. And so I try to ask myself, where am I with God, with others, with my work, with my community? And that's kind of just an important practice. And then I can think about, okay, where do I want to be in a week, in 30 days, in 60 days, in 90 days? But I will say, there was a time in my life, and this would have been kind of 40, where a lot of that just kind of fell apart, and that became oppressive to me. It became kind of the to-do lists really became a disorder in lots of ways, and I had to stop that. I had to stop making the list. I had to stop setting goals, but that took some time to kind of unlearn, and I feel like I'm just getting back now into a place where I can be forward-thinking without sort of being obsessive about it, if that makes sense. Not letting it own me, but having the freedom to sort of ask God, what is on your heart? What could I do to be a part of that? Versus, here's what I want to go do. God, would you bless this? And that's just taken up, my lifetime to figure that out.
Man, I feel like I have so much to learn from you guys.
We learned together.
Yeah. So my family holds me accountable in a lot of ways, both my husband and then like my parents at large. But I'm going to share something to be vulnerable for a minute. My older sister is a homesteader. And if you follow her on social media, I know some of you do, she loves to wake up early in the morning and take pretty pictures and be like, God, thank you for the flowers, And it's beautiful. I'm not negating what she does. She has a beautiful life. But when I'm at my worst, and I've had, again, this is seasonal for me, I start coveting her life. Because I see that and I'm like, girl, you don't even know. I'm so tired, And so one time I had this really honest conversation with her. It's probably been about a year ago. And I said, Megan, she just opened a new farm store. And so she's busy. She has things, that she's doing. She's got lots of hobbies and animals, 100 chickens or something. And children and a husband. So she's busy, right? But I told her, I was like, I feel this really heavy weight and this super long to-do list all of the time, and I don't know when to stop. And I feel like if I do stop and I see the flowers and I take the picture and I post the post, then it's what else could I be doing besides that? So she bought me this book, and it has taken me a year to read it, I'll be honest, but it's called Reclaiming Quiet. It's by Sarah Clarkson, and it's beautifully written, and it's her journey of walking through anxiety and control issues and learning to rely back on the Lord. But one of the things I've learned from that book that has been so beautiful has been rest doesn't have to be something that you plan every day. It can just be holy attention. And what that looks like is instead of, like for me, I try to wake up early in the mornings, but sometimes, I've been up, like last night I was up for 3 hours with my daughter because she's 2 and she's really sick. But so like I couldn't wake up at 5 and do my morning devotion. So instead of doing that, I'm going to try to use some holy attention today. And when I go home and I'm cuddling with her, I'm going to think about her hand, holding my hand. And I'm going to cry because I cry a lot. So just be prepared for that. But like, it's that holy attention to detail of the good things that God has put into our life that provides us rest and allows us to see Him in the day-to-day and see Him there with us, even when we're still in the hustle and bustle. I really love that word, holy attention, and I'm in a season of trying to hold on to that when I can't build these rhythms and systems, and the to-do list feels too long. So.
That's great. Yeah, that's real good.
That's beautiful. You guys have all talked about specific people, maybe spouse, family, even coworkers that are kind of part of these conversations and kind of feel the effects of whether you are leaning into rest or leaning into self-reliance. Can you talk a little bit about what it looks like for you guys to create cultures of rest in your families or in your workplaces, and how do you help spur other people on around you to work from a place of rest?
So I would say a couple things. Jay, one of my friend coworkers, is here, and he and I have the benefit, I think, of having this modeled really well for us at Sovereign's Capital, where our leadership is very intentional about encouraging a concept that is called faithfulness versus willfulness, and it's a tension, right, of life. I'm not always being willful, I'm not always being faithful, I'm somewhere in this kind of tension, and what does that look like? And so I think a lot of that is having a community, having the ability to be free to discuss those sorts of things. So I think, and you're all leaders in your own right, wherever you are, if a family or a workplace or a ministry, what does it look like to sort of give permission to other people in your sphere to find rest, to not feel like they've got to be the sole solution to something, but to feel like they have a team to be a part of, to feel like they've got, sort of the permission to not control the outcome, because I think that's a thing we're all tempted to do, and to lean into faithfulness, which is trusting God and also trusting your community around you. And so that's something I've kind of taken, and with Cindy, we talk a lot about that. Our boys have their own schedule at this point, and it can be overwhelming in many ways. So we feel like we're not only managing kind of our own schedules, but our own family schedule, but also kind of individuality of each of the boys and kind of what they're up to. And I think some of that takes a lot of conversation. It takes a lot of willingness to kind of think about priorities and preferences, and that it's just kind of that constant tension of what does it look like to be faithful in our family versus willful. And we don't ever get it perfect, but it's something we talk about and discuss.
Yeah, we, at 5 o'clock at our house, we shut down all the things. We try. It doesn't mean we don't pick it back up at 2 a.m. I'm right there with you on
Thank
that
you.
one. Yeah. But between like 5 and 9, it's family time for sure. Sometimes earlier than that. If I can end at 3:30 on a good day after I pick my kids up from school, I do. I'm not always great about it, but I try. I think for the staff here, hold me accountable for this. Oh, hold me responsible for this. Learned that from Raj. I mean, honestly, we're first things first. So like, I feel like we have a little bit of an edge there. If we're not putting our families first, if we're not putting the Lord first, if we're not putting the small things first in our life every single day, then how can we expect other people to do it, right? So something that we've created in our culture is if there's anything going on in your life where you feel overwhelmed, just take the day off. No questions asked. It's not going to count towards sick days. It's not going to count towards vacation. Like, just tell us. And we give people the freedom to do that. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, you shouldn't be here right now. Like, you don't come in tomorrow. Just take the day off. If your kids are being, like, sometimes I speak again from experience because I have young children, but sometimes I can tell they just need mom. You have those days when you've if you have young kids or you've had young kids, like you've just been away from them too long and they're like, oh, they're acting out and they're just, and you just need to take them to the park for the afternoon. Do that. We give our staff the freedom to do that, or bring them to work with you or whatever. And if you need time to reconnect and slow down, like, do that. If we're not doing that in our day-to-day work, if we're not promoting that in our day-to-day work, then we're not doing the work of First Things First, which is not the work of the Lord either. So I do feel like we have a little bit of an edge on that, just to be fair about that.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
So my team is actually here, so hopefully this will speak true to what I'm about to say. I'm one of those type of people that, listen, if you need a moment, go. Take your moment. If you need a day, go. Just communicate with me. Just let me know. Mm-hmm. Just let me know what's going on. Don't be out here wherever you may be and somebody from the street call me and tell me something that you didn't tell me. I'm gonna feel some type of way. I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah. So I'm one of those type of people because I understand that all of us need rest and we need breaks. For my team, for the work that we do, I understand. You might need a moment. They also have families and they have things that they have to take care of. So it's important to me that number one, you communicate to let me know what's going on. But then two, I want you to be home. I've been working on this, and Ms. Deborah can vouch for it because she knows I've been working to get us. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna say it in this meeting. And don't y'all tell them until I can figure it out. I'm working on a 4-in-1. Like, we work 4 days to get stuff done, and we off either Monday or Friday. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on that. Look, clock and T. So I'm just saying, I'm working on it because I understand that we need rest. I love that. And the more we rest, the more productive we are to continue to do what it is that we're doing. Home, I'm learning how to be home. I'm learning how to be home. My wife, we'll be married 5 years next year. Which my wife is a trooper. She's from Memphis, right? And so she been helping me raise my nieces and nephews. And she'd be like, hey, I know you got a lot going on. I know you have work. I know you have this. And I know you have all this other stuff right now. But in this moment, I need you to put your phone down. I need you to be here. Oh, man. But I'm here. No, you're on your phone. I need all your attention. Ladies, y'all can understand what I'm coming from. Blink if I'm talking to you. Okay, all right. So she asked for that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me respect and honor that. And I'm seeing a shift in the home because of the fact that I'm present and not present. I hope that makes sense. Oh, yeah. So I'm learning to be in the moment, and this has been very healthy because of that.
Mm. So we don't have a ton of time left, but I think it would be amiss if we didn't talk a little bit about what it looks like to rest in Christ in our work. This has been mostly a conversation about what does it look like to trust God enough to be able to step away from and enter into rest. But I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what does it look like for us to trust God and rest in Christ in our work, in the day-to-day. So what does resting in Christ in your work look like? How do you experience Christ's rest in your work?
Man, that's a very good question. I would have the mic. Lauren, you want to go first?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was meant for you to have it.
Oh, it was meant for me to have it? Dang. All right, I got it. So Andrew alluded to it a few minutes ago. He referenced Genesis 3 when God was walking in the cool of the day and Adam and Eve had, ate the fruit and everything. And then God asked him the question, where are you? And Adam responded and said, hey, we were naked. We was ashamed. And God turned back around and said, who told you were naked? Did you eat from that tree I told you not to eat from? And that messed me up because of the fact that They were naked the whole time and were unashamed before his presence. But it wasn't until they ate the fruit that they realized something was different about them. I'm saying that because of the fact that I'm learning. I have already been naked with God. He knows all about me. But because of the fact that I get in my own way sometimes, I've eaten some fruit I probably shouldn't have eaten, I'm trying to cover myself up before the one who knows all about me. So I'm learning to say, God, I want to rest in you so well that no matter what takes place, you're going to give me what I need for the moment because I trust in you just that much with all of my nakedness, the good, the bad, the ugly, the things nobody else knows but he and I. All of those things, I want to trust you like that. And I'm learning. It's a daily process. And for those who are believers in the room, our walk should be just that way.
Yeah.
That we should be growing and be naked in front of God because he already knows. Why not tell him and be honest about what we are so that he can then speak on our life to tell us this is the area you need to rest in. You need to pick this up, put that down so that now we can do what it is that we're called to do from God. And another thing I'm learning this, and I have 8 of these open tabs on my desk. I ain't gonna tell y'all which one because y'all be in my office. But I have 8 journals at work, and I have 2 at home. And I'm learning how to jot down everything that I'm feeling like, God, I need your help with this, period. I need your help with this now. And give me the peace and the patience to be, what's the word that I used on one of the journals? Be kind to myself in the process of trusting you with this. That's what all I have to say on it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Good.
I think for me, it comes down to sort of situating my work in, I think, a proper perspective, and that is, it's taken me a while to get here. I'm still working on this, so I'm a work in progress. But it is, I think I've had to come to sort of rest in the fact that I have a king who has a kingdom, and I'm just a part of what he is already at work doing. And if you move from Genesis all the way to Revelation 21, he says, "Behold, I'm making all things new."
Yes.
And I am free to be a part of that in the ways that he has created me to be Andrew. And I don't have to be Lauren, and I don't have to be Chris, but thank God for Lauren and thank God for Chris, and we can be the body of Christ together inside of that kingdom. And so, I'll just kind of be pointed with that. For so long, I wanted to be the guy that came up with or be the sort of the number one guy. And what I've come to embrace is I'm built and wired to be a number 2. I'm built and wired to be kind of a chief operating officer type of an individual. Jay and I get to work with a guy who's wired to be a visionary. He is wired to be sort of out in front and rallying the troops. And it's taken a long time for me to sort of embrace where I fit in the picture. And so having, I think, a right perspective on who I am as it relates to what God is up to has been important in that. I do think, Mel, we talked about this some on our planning call. Scripture is really important. These idea of breath prayers. So like, just real simple, verses. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. Psalm 23, right? Psalm 62. If I'm walking in, like I was walking in here today, my salvation and my honor depend on God. I love you all, but I have had to work really hard to not walk out of this room after this to feel like you all determine my worth. And that's taken me 46 years. Again, still working on it. But it's those kind of, small breath prayers that help me live into the freedom of who I'm made to be. And hopefully you guys can do the same.
That's good. That's good.
Man, I think it's so good to just hear this and know that we're not alone. I just appreciate all the vulnerability in this room.
Yes.
A few years ago, maybe there is one season that was a little more for me, and then I had to think about it, where I wasn't resting well. But my anxiety got really, really bad around COVID time. Part of it was because, we had no childcare, small children. I had just become CEO of First Things First. I had a totally different vision than what was happening. And so I had this vision and I was like, let's make it happen right now, which I was not waiting on the Lord. I was not, none of that. And so my anxiety kind of spun out of control. And my dad sat me down one afternoon and he said, do you remember Exodus 16? And I was like, no. And he said, well, that's when Israel was in the wilderness and they were wanting to get out, they were wandering around, they were complaining, they were upset. God started providing manna. And he said, you know what? Just take enough for the day, because if you take more, it's going to spoil. And he said, but before the Sabbath, you can take more. And I promise it won't spoil on the Sabbath. It'll still be good. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And he said, every single day you're trying to do too much, and you're trying to do too much on your own, and you're thinking about it as if this is something you have to do on your own. And it's not. If you feel the Lord has called you here and you trust that he is with you, let him give you the peace and the rest to sustain the vision he has given you. And trust that things will happen in his time, day by day. Do what you can, and then let the rest be for tomorrow. And just let it be. And I'm still learning that, oh my goodness. But I do have Exodus 16 on my bathroom mirror, so I try to remember it every single day. But I think even in the small things of like when we have a family in crisis, it's really easy to think, oh man, we need to save them. Even though that's wrong, we're not the saviors at all. But there is this sense of like higher calling to say, the Lord called us here. The Lord gave us these resources. The Lord has brought us into this place for such a time as this. So we have to do it. We have to do it now. And everything's a crisis. And that's just not who he created us to be. He created us to rest in him and to take that daily bread. He is our daily bread. And Exodus 16 is my breath prayer. Yeah. I think that's seeing him in our work day to day and resting in that day to day is remembering that we can only do what we can do on our own, and we can't do anything apart from him. So.
That's good. That's good.
That reminds me of a sermon I was listening to this week. They said the definition of resting is to be utterly satisfied in the work that's been done. And that's only through Jesus and only Jesus, that we can find that kind of rest. So thank you guys for your honesty and your vulnerability and being willing to share in front of everyone that we're all still trying to figure this out. So can we give them a round of applause?